So now let's move to one of my favorite homes in Sugar Mountain. I do remember back in 2020 and even before COVID, we were traveling a lot to the mountains and we absolutely fell in love with Boone area. And we decided that we want to buy our second home in the mountains where we can, come and enjoy a time with the family.
Yeah, and I remember of course, what we did, called on. So that point, so we were strongly thinking about the investment, and we knew at that time he got a couple of investment properties, and we just really want to have some suggestions because we
His
really have no
opinion.
idea where to start, what to do, what kind of loans, and stuff like that. So we called on, asked about some time if he can meet with us and talk to us about the different kind of investments in different kind of properties. So I remember we met in Lafayette Village in Jubala, and that was quite a bit of life-changing meeting. I remember he offered you a job, remember? But
Yeah, I
you could
do.
not because
I really wanted to be
pregnant
a
with
real
Daniel
estate
already?
agent. Actually, I was actually taking classes, real estate classes
At
when
that
I was
time?
pregnant. Yes, when I was pregnant with
Oh,
Daniel
first time?
in 2020, yes.
Okay.
But
Yeah, and he kind of explained us how to invest, what to invest. You actually don't need to have a million dollars and make 500,000 a year to be the real estate investor if you're investing smart. And that was that was very informative, and we learned a lot at that night. So we started looking for the house in Sugar Mount.
yes, it was amazing just, how, like I said, like you mentioned before, he is very busy. And it was very, Don being Don, that he actually made time for us to meet with us and actually, share his knowledge, share his experience, and, kind of his opinion based, on this whole situation, even if we should even try or not, what we should do and things like that. It was very, very sweet of him and, professional of him just to meet with us, not even in the office, just
Yeah,
somewhere for coffee and just have a regular, friend to friend chat, nothing,
yeah.
it was very, very nice of him.
Maybe it feels like we talk too much about someone else, but not Yulia, like but Don. But trust me, that people like Jerry, Don was really made a huge change in our life and our understanding of real estate journey because they share their experience and expertise. So that's why we've been mentioning, and we will mentioning a lot, Jerry
Yeah,
and Don, and hopefully one day you can record the video with Don and another video with Jerry. That will be
we'll definitely try it.
fantastic. Okay, Sugar Mountain.
Yes.
So yes, we found an agent in Sugar Mountain. Unfortunately, at that time, Jerry was not be able to help
Mhm.
us because he was actually moving from Raleigh to Sugar Mountain area, and he was too busy. So, well, we did not even know him at that time, but that's what we knew later. And so we got an agent. She was not the best one, but she was not the bad one, but she was not the best one. So, but you always, can compare and say if it was good, it was okay. She was okay. She was not bad, but she was okay. Something we learned from her, and I'm sure you
Definitely
know
can
how
apply
not
it.
to do
Yes.
things the way she
Yes.
did. Um, so the first meeting with her was a bunch of houses, like learn the market, Beach Mountain, Boone, Benerel, whatever. And then I was back and forth. I probably checked like 25, 30 properties with her.
I do recall that.
And then combining with
Work.
appraisal, it was very difficult, but we made it. So we that doesn't matter. But we did it, and it was all these houses under 400,000 for 50, and it was okay, but it was just regular houses. And then one day, my beautiful wife sent me the link. I go for it.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened, honestly. I do not
Yeah,
recall
sure.
it.
Like you just
Um,
set up the Zillow, not 400,000 and 600,000 or
no,
650 actually.
no, the problem is I did not set up a limit. That's the problem. That's why I
Ah,
was getting, expensive, homes at that time. But I do remember I saw that home. I don't remember the time or what I was doing, but I remember it was definitely over our budget.
A little
It was
bit.
about Yes, it was about 650. Yeah, 650,000. And I mean, it was very beautiful home. And I was like, I don't know, I
I'm
was hesitant.
here.
Should I show it to you? Should I not show it to you? Because I mean, it was really expensive. But I was like, you know what? Let me just, give it a try. I do remember I texted you and you were like, do you remember our budget? That's over 200K over.
But I really
But
liked it, honestly. But it
yeah,
was a little crazy at
it
that
was
time.
expensive.
The
Yeah.
amount was a little crazy. The listing
But
price was like 650 or 635. It was way too much.
But it was very beautiful. It had the
Mhm.
view of the mountains. It was a grandfather mountain. I mean, the way it was kind of, even based on the pictures, it was just, it was so much privacy. It was just literally what we were looking for. I mean, yes and no, just because, it doesn't have a flat spot like we wanted to, but still, it was definitely, everything that we wanted inside of the house for sure.
I
So,
think this is was sold. I'll turn to my laptop. That's panoramic windows. We don't
yes.
see the
Yeah.
grandfather yet, but because it's a lot of clouds. But I think this is the sold the house very easily to us.
Yes. And one more thing, it's maybe cheesy, but I really love the Christmas tree on the back of the home. And it's just, I kind of imagined that, we could, always decorate it for Christmas, have the lights on, and it would be just really, really nice. You sitting in the dining area, enjoying dinner and just watching
Stop.
Christmas tree.
Just
Okay,
stop.
we're
Just
going too
stop.
far. Okay. All right, sorry. Back to the topic.
Yes.
So after I saw that, I sent it to you. You were like, it's very nice, but it's too much. And then I was like, let's just, try it. So we're like, let's just, talk to Don and see, what he could suggest based on his just view of the two
Yeah,
properties
but
as we
another
saw.
thing about this house was, um, again, I checked bunch of houses, and all of them were just the house in the mountains, right? And I also say the thing to my friends a lot when they're trying to buy a house, like, how would I know this is the house I need to buy? And I always saying you will know because that's the reason you need to learn the market. You need to not just go and check two, three houses and it's like, oh, I need to figure out something. Go and check 10, 15, 20 houses. And by that time you will understand the priorities. If it changed from the beginning, or you keep your priorities, or do you need to sacrifice anything, or it's still okay? And one day you will go to the house and you will figure, okay, I want this house. So that's pretty much happened to us because I remember that day when I went to, you were home. I went with was the agent to Seven Devils. It was a nice house, $500,000 house, uh, facing the Sugar Mountain ski resort slopes. Beautiful, but it still was like, and then I was like, well, I remember she sent me the link. So let's go and check the Sugar Mountain house. And again, at that time, I did not have much knowledge. And I guess that's another thing about the agent. She did not provide me much knowledge about the market. She just showed me the houses. She did not introduce me to the market at all because a lot of stuff need to be learned in the mountains in order to buy a good house and especially a successful Airbnb. But so we went to this house in Sugar Mountain, and the second I got into the house, I figured that has to be our house. You can feel very strong structure, bones, really, really solid. And then we find out the actual owner of the house, he's a builder in South Carolina. So he built this house
Mhm.
with his son, and it's extremely high quality house. And at that time, I understand that that's it. I'm not giving 20% down. That's going to be 10% down because we're not buying $400,000. We'll fight for this one. So as you said, yes, it was 650, and of course we will negotiate. But same
Yes.
time, I understand. There's no way I can get it even for 500,000, 500,000. And another house was in Fleetwood,
Hmm.
375. No view, pretty standard house, but it was a good price. 375 for the house was great. And so at that point, you understand, okay, it's going to be double pretty much in payment, but you're getting Sugar Mountain with the grandfather view, and you're getting the regular house in Fleetwood. So what to pick? That's when I called Don, and he was like, I got 5 minutes. How may I help you? I was like, Don, listen, here's the thing, two houses. And he actually know market in the mountains because he used to either live or he went to school in West Jefferson. So he know Boone area very well. And I was like, one house, 375, another house, 650. And he was like, what is the purpose of the house? It's like, second home and potential short-term rental. He was like, okay, so think about it. When you will be renting Fleetwood house, that's fine. You will have the maybe payment 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 bucks, right, a month. Good. You will cover with your STR income, short-term rental income, right? But the thing about it, the occupancy rate probably will be like 35, 40, 45 max,
Lower.
and the nightly rate will be 150 up to 225, maybe 300 Christmas, right? Sugar Mountain, huh? The nightly rate 250 easy, all the way to 500 on the holidays. Occupancy rate, if you rent it right, of 60, 75%, whatever you will have the way. Just depends on the quality of the pictures, quality of the setup in the house.
That's very important.
And I was like, okay. So after that conversation, I understood one very important thing. You're not looking for the house as just the numbers, the purchase price. You're looking as the investment, how much money it will bring to you, and mm, how much equity it will make to you, and how desired area is, which was actually the Sugar Mountain on zone. And I was like, okay. He did not answer my question. He just gave me some suggestions, and I pretty much answered to myself. And we started to negotiate for the Sugar Mountain house. And it was another crazy negotiation. And um, actually, owner, I guess the previous owner was so pissed, he never even replied to me because I found him LinkedIn, asked some questions after we closed on the house, and he never even replied to me. But it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, but even before going that, but I do believe, might be wrong, but I remember that after you talked to Don and you were like, thinking about this property, he was like, well, if you're not gonna buy it, I will buy it. So I
Yes.
think that will actually push you to
Yes.
kind
It's
of make
like,
the
okay, if
decision.
Don saying he
Yeah.
will buy it, I mean, it's probably good property.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did the negotiations went?
Um, so it was listed 650. We got it
Mm-hmm.
for 575, but the way to 575 was not easy at all.
Oh yeah.
And that was another thing about the agent. But anyway, um, so we started like 550, probably insulted the owner and the agent. As they got pissed, they got like 600 back or 625 counter. I was like, no, we're doing 5,000 step. So we got like 555 or 560, and then 625 counters and some, like, it was, so they pretty much declined the offer, and we sent them the best and final 575.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why they agreed to it. Maybe because they just really need to sell it. Maybe because they really need to move back to South Carolina. Something else. I don't know. But we got lucky, and we got this house for 575. And I remember the inspections.
Mm-hmm.
We got $15,000 seller's credit for the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the inspection was completed, they found some minor issue with the septic tank
Yes.
leveling. So it was another $2,000, $3,000. And then it was some mold, which is very typical for the mountains, in the basement. I don't remember how much we got for that.
I
It was
don't
like
recall
five or
it.
$7,000.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So 575 and like $25,000 in closing cost from, like, as a seller's credit. That's a killer deal. There's no better deal, I guess, we can get whatsoever on in special in Sugar Mountain. So it was very exciting and lucky time, and we live in this house. We moved in.
Yeah, we
How
actually lived
long
there
did
for the whole year. We actually lived there. We loved it so much that we actually lived it for a whole year.
Yeah, I was able to manage to actually do my appraisal business, inspecting vehicles here and just and live here, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it just that the temperature wise, it was, mid 70s. It just felt, amazing. We spent this, I mean, the summer there was amazing. I mean, it's a different story about Christmas. But when we went to find a Christmas tree that, you were like, okay, yeah, so Yulia, go find a Christmas tree, that we can put in the house. And then I ended up finding a huge Christmas tree that we barely,
Yeah.
fit into the house. It literally
Mhm.
took half of our living room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's
just so many
memories. It's
memories
it's
in
not
that
just the
home.
property. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic memories.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, that time was very special. I mean, we definitely loved it. But when, Daniel kind of growed up a little bit, we were, thinking giving him to a preschool. So we couldn't really stay, that often in the home. And so we were just, thinking, what's the point of just, the home just kind of, no movement, nothing, just kind of, home by itself. I was like, well, maybe we should consider, renting it, even though that was not my, definitely, I did not want it to, that's for sure, because, I was kind of, worried about the home. But then you kind of convinced me that, if we enjoyed it so much, why not, let others, enjoy it as well too. I remember that's very moved me the reason why we kind of one of the reasons why I changed my mind about it, and then we should definitely consider renting it.
Yep. Yep.
So since our Sugar Mountain was became a successful Airbnb and it was doing well, so we decided we're excited and decided to buy another mountain home. And that's when we got introduced to Jerry Ferrell. Hi, Jerry. First of all, my good friend. He's also my mentor, my current broker in charge, and just simply an amazing person.
Agree.
And when we started
100%.
looking for a home with Jerry, he's honestly the most professional agent I have ever met. Like every single showing that we have been with him, he had folders full of paperwork. He had lot lines. He had mortgage details, house history, all the disclaimers. I mean, you name it. It was just very, very professional. I mean, he was dressed up professionally because you would think, the mountains and kind of people would be laid back, but he was professional. And he was organized and ready to go. That was a top level professionalism. And he literally set me an example that when I would become an agent, I would definitely want to be just like him, prepared, dressed and other things. And when we started looking, we actually started looking and we're thinking no, no, we almost bought two homes with Jerry, but ended up not buying at that time. Do you want to jump into the stories why we did not buy?
Because of you.
It takes
Well, the first
two.
one,
It
not.
takes
No.
two.
Yes. So the first house, it's next to Blind Rock. It's in Collegeville. It was amazing house, was a pool, which
He did.
was the main thing for you.
Yes.
I checked this house 3 times with Jerry
Mm-hmm.
before I made decision, let's move forward. And no, actually, it went under the contract, then back on market. We checked it again, and we were ready to send an offer. And you were pregnant, like 27 weeks,
No, honey, that was 37 weeks.
37. Okay.
Yes. That was
You
almost
drove all
almost
the
due date.
way, all the
Mm-hmm.
way from Raleigh to Sugar because we were staying in Sugar.
Yeah.
I was staying and someone else, and Sugar. and or maybe by myself. And when you came here that
Yeah.
night, Jerry sent a text message. I'm sorry, I told agent the Yuliya coming from Raleigh, and we need to see the house in the morning, and she's pregnant, and looks like this agent did not care.
Yeah.
So the house actually went under the contract while you've been driving from Raleigh
Yeah. I
to
mean, it's
Sugar that night.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, even if we're gonna get back on the market, we're not buying it. It's so disrespectful,
It was
and
very
there's no
unprofessional
way
for sure.
we gonna get it. Second house was even better.
Oh gosh.
Um, it was Sugar Grove House, 4,000 square feet.
Oh, you love that home.
I
Mhm.
believe 3 stories, view, fantastic privacy, and we actually sent an offer. It was counter offer, and then Jerry find out something happened in this house. We're not gonna get into details,
Yeah.
but I was okay with it.
I was
You
not.
you were not,
Mm-mm.
and we decided not buy the house. But
Yeah.
it was a great house. It was probably $80 per square feet. It was fantastic deal. But listen, I respect your decision as well because you said it right. Why would you need to buy something that I never would like to stay in?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're gonna find something else.
Yep.
Um, After we kind of stopped and maybe just got a little frustrated and maybe got a little tired driving back and forth to the mountains to find a house, we made another decision. Well, it was not just decision um, because we want to make, but because a big war started in Ukraine and my mom and my sister was coming to US and we just needed a bigger house.
So since we didn't really, got the home with Jerry, we kind of decided, let's just, stop for now and then, reconsider things. And then we started looking for a home, a bigger home. So we were looking in Wake Forest, we were looking in Roseville, because I really like the area, but the prices were pretty high, and our main goal that we wanted in our new home, we wanted privacy. And that's when I remember I was scrolling and I saw a really nice home in Clayton that was, of course, over the budget as always. It cannot be under the budget. And what really, really caught my eye was the koi pond fish. I really, really liked that. But unfortunately, I believe it was like the next day or so, it went under the contract. But then in a couple of, I believe a couple of weeks or so, we could continue looking and looking. And then remember, we saw a couple homes in Wake Forest that we liked, but it didn't have, the privacy that we wanted. And then when I saw that the home came back on the market, I was like, Taras, we have to go see it. It's back on market. I do remember, seeing this home. Maybe we should, check it out. And that's when things changed, right?
Yeah, we went to check it. It was nice. The only thing was questionable. It's a creek behind
Mm-hmm.
because we were needed to check if it's in the flood zone.
Flood zone. Hmm.
So that's actually very important. Always check the flood zone. You got some map, right?
Yes.
You can do okay. You know, I have no all this stuff, but you do. So it was a flood zone, but it called minor. It's called 1 in 100 years. So the flood insurance is not required. And the house was pretty cool. Nice house, 4 bedrooms, three full baths, and playroom. And yes, we decided we want to buy that house.
And
So of
remember,
course,
remember our criterias again. We
oh,
definitely,
Wake Forest, Roseville, Wake
yeah,
Forest, Roseville, under 600,000, and definitely privacy. Well, at least some boxes got checked.
yes,
That's
yeah.
at least some.
Yeah, well, we definitely want, at least I wanted to have, all bedrooms kind of on the same level since, the kids are small. We want it to
Oh,
be,
oh yeah.
Easy, kind of quick and easy
And now
access
you want to
to.
move kids upstairs.
Yes, I do want to move the kids upstairs. Oh my gosh, yes. There's a saying, there's no perfect home. There's always,
Yeah,
there's always something because I feel like, our needs change, our views and perspective change. And even though you think you find the perfect home, there's always something that you
yeah,
want to add or change.
yeah.
So. But it was really nice home. I do remember it was I believe it was listed for 650 or 6.
635. Original 650, then went back on market 635.
Yes, and how did we get a house for 575? Do you want to tell the story?
Negotiating, and it was back and forth, and we
Yes.
got lucky actually. And we got, I believe the agent got pissed, and owner got pissed a little
I
bit.
feel like every agent's getting pissed on us.
Yeah. Well, the next house in Maggie Valley, I still friend with the owner, so.
At least one. Yes, there's one property. Yes, they were
But
still good.
yes, but the main, I guess, lesson of that house, what we learned, inspections again, and
Yes.
negotiation. It was pretty standard, right? We just been mean and sending the
We always
lowball
start
offers.
low. Yes. But no, that's
Um,
good. You always, the sellers want to sell, the buyers want to buy, and as buyers, we want, to spend as much as low as we can, and the sellers want to sell as high as they can. And so we went to
what
low
Jerry
as
says. I love
always.
what Jerry says about it.
What does he say?
You don't remember?
I don't
You
know.
never heard to ask. Oh no, you would never know until you ask. Yeah.
Yes.
Because when we were trying to buy a house in the mountains, of course, always low ball offers. Like, Jerry, do you think it's too low? And he was so of course he was thinking like, you freaking
You
crazy,
crazy?
but
Yeah.
at the same time he was like, well, you never know until you will ask. I was like, oh my goodness, he's so professional.
Yes.
But yes, so lesson with this house was the inspections, because what happened when they did the inspections, the septic inspection, and the inspector actually found out the our deck built with no permit.
Hmm.
And uh, the I'm assuming why they did not get the permit, because it was a vent, the septic vent, right under the deck. By the building code, you cannot have anything above the vent. So I guess someone just, I know who bought it, who built it. Uh, it was Pierre, the original owner of the house, but it's
He
okay.
also built a koi pond, which is
Yes, and
beautiful.
he is still also a good friend to us.
Yes.
Um, but it was actually a good thing, because then we negotiated and we got seller's credit, extra $5,000 because it was something not complying with the building code, and we got some seller credit. So it was not critical, but you never, like Jerry said, right? You would never
Doesn't
know until
hurt.
asked. So we just asked, and they offered, okay, we will pay you $5,000. We agree. It was not, the deck was not permitted.
Mhm.
So that's another negotiation tool, the seller credits. So you might get the house for like listing price, but you can get some money on the closing as well. Well, same with the builders. You get some, if you go with preferred lender, you go with the preferred attorney, you're getting some seller credit as well. Yeah, so we got a 575 with like $7,000 in closing. So we're still in this house, and it's amazing house. So it's not much probably cover on that house because it was just simple buy. Well, maybe one thing I want to mention, it was also a great buy. Why? Neighbors, fantastic neighborhood, amazing, and the because of Clayton is growing so much right now.
Yeah.
The next to us house went under the contract like 2 weeks ago. Within 3 days, it was listed
Yeah.
for 750, I believe. So it
Hmm.
probably sold no less than will be sold no less than 725. And it's not even the because our house in cul-de-sac, so the last house, which is very desirable. And so at this point, we're probably at 750, which is again for 2.5 years,
Yeah. We
575
bought
to
it.
750.
Mhm.
Not about how genius I am or how genius Yuliya is. It's just about how Clayton is exploding right now and how cool to invest in Clayton, anywhere in Clayton right now, because of the flowers mutation, because of the 540, and I know ChatGPT and Claude loves Clayton. So if you want to ask
Yes.
something, Claude or ChatGPT about Clayton, you will learn a lot. But yes, love Clayton. Definitely don't want to move from Clayton now. This feel of the small town, still in downtown, and of course you're drinking the Boulevard West coffee because
Oh, yes, yes.
that's your favorite place there. So yes, so that's how we ended up in Clayton.
Support
And
local, for sure.